At Trinity Christian School, we implement a house system within our elementary and middle schools to build opportunities for unity, leadership, and positive peer pressure. Each house is represented by a historical Christian figure who exemplifies the types of characteristics we hope to see our students exhibit in their own lives. The Lewis House. Clive Staples Lewis, better known as C.S. Lewis, was an Oxford graduate and professor of medieval literature. He is best known as a celebrated Christian author of both fiction and nonfiction works. Although his road to becoming a Christian would be filled with challenges, beginning at the age of 9 when his mother unexpectedly died of cancer. The years that followed were riddled with uncertainty as his relationship with his father worsened, partly as a result of being sent to boarding schools and private tutors, some of whom taught young Lewis to believe the lie of atheism. Lewis's atheistic beliefs were further strengthened as a soldier, for it was on the battlefield that Lewis experienced the horrors of World War I and felt certain that God could not exist. After being wounded in battle, Lewis returned to Oxford, where he completed his last year of undergraduate studies. Graduating with the highest marks, Lewis soon became professor of medieval literature at Oxford. It was here that C.S. Lewis met his lifelong friend, J.R.R. Tolkien, an avid man of faith, who would later author best-selling novels, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Finding Lewis to be a hardened atheist, Tolkien and others began to share the gospel with him. They hoped that their friend's heart would soften to truth. One evening in 1931, Lewis and Tolkien strolled along Addison's Walk at Oxford, talking about philosophy and faith. As they passed beneath the trees, their discussion turned toward Jesus. Lewis remembers that the wind picked up as Tolkien began to share the truth of Christ crucified and resurrected. Jack, as C.S. Lewis's friends called him, understood Jesus to be the central figure of creation on this night. Soon he gave his life to Jesus and his passions changed forever. Lewis went on to author more than 30 books on Christianity, seeking to encourage and strengthen believers while sharing the deep truths of the Bible with an unbelieving audience. As that audience grew, C.S. Lewis was invited to speak on a weekly BBC radio program. It was while doing this broadcast that Lewis became a household name. In the only remaining recording from this program, Lewis shared the simple but life-changing truth about what it means to be a Christian, putting off the old sinful self and putting on the new life that Christ offers.
If a person didn't know about salt, wouldn't he think that anything with such a strong taste would kill the taste of all the other things in any dish you put it into? We know that, as a matter of fact, it brings out their real taste. Well, it's rather like that with Christ. When you've completely given up yourself to his personality, you will then, for the first time in your life, be developing into a real person. He made the whole world. He invented, as an author invents characters in a book, all the different men that you and I were intended to be. Our real selves are, so to speak, all waiting for us in him.
The character trait of the Lewis House is reflect God's glory through your creativity. Clive Staples Lewis lived out this truth through his writing, which includes such celebrated titles as The Space Trilogy, The Screwtape Letters, Mere Christianity, and The Chronicles of Narnia, the latter of which was adapted into 3 major motion pictures, with a Netflix series in the works. Lewis realized that his God-given abilities as a writer could be used as God intended, to bring God glory and lead others to the Lord. This is why we at Trinity Christian School have chosen C.S. Lewis to represent one of our houses. May we learn to reflect God's glory through our own creativity, and, like Lewis, point people to the Savior.